Welcome to another episode of Shift with Elena Agar. In this conversation, I am joined by a fellow learning and development professional, Candice Mitchell. She shared her journeys of how she got into talent development field, and we just talked about the challenges we have. How is AI helping us or hurting us in our profession? She has over 18 years of experience building talent strategies across organizations of all sizes. And we really just kind of talked about how this function is going to be redesigned and reimagined with innovations in AI and what does the future hold for our profession. So I thought it was pretty interesting because it's really important for us as L&D practitioners to start thinking about how is AI going to impact us and how we can maximize on actually using this opportunity towards our benefit instead of our detriment. As always, enjoy the conversation, subscribe, follow, share, and let me know what you think. Candice, welcome to the Shift podcast.
Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this.
Likewise, I always love chatting with my fellow talent development people and people that are truly, just excited about people and future and talent. And I love it what you're doing in terms of just working with, our peers and colleagues and helping us be, better and make a bigger impact in our careers. But before we go into that, tell me a little bit more about how did you get into talent development field? What's your career story?
Yes, absolutely. And I love sharing because I think my story is pretty unique, as is everyone's. But so many people fell into learning and development. I hear that all the time. Oh, I fell into learning and development, but not me. I chose it. I chose it from the starting gates. So I studied organizational psychology. So and then I did a postgraduate in that in organizational psychology. So while I was doing my postgraduate, we had a guest lecturer come in, told us all about learning and development, towards the end where you're like, what must I do with this degree now? And then she's told us all about learning and development. And I just sat there thinking, oh, like, is this a career? People get paid to do this? I was like in shock. And it was in that moment I decided, like, this is for me. And honestly, that was now 18 years ago. And I've done it ever since. So I started off, fresh from my degree. I started off as a learning and development administrator. So booking people in the system, printing out the learner manuals, all of that good stuff. And then I pushed really hard for my development. So I attended another postgraduate in corporate development practitioner within the company. I was the youngest, most inexperienced person, but probably the one with the most drive and definitely the one with the most passion. That's always been me in the room. Like, I love this so much. And then, yeah, just worked my way up and I did a 10-year corporate career and landed up as a director looking after the learning and development team of about 56 people. It was called the process optimization lead.
Mhm.
So I looked at learning and development ways of working for the company and tried to optimize, modernize, streamline all of that stuff. And then I went out on my own and did consulting. So
Nice.
that's the intro, and we can get more into the consulting side.
Yeah, no, you are right about the fact that a lot of learning and development professionals like kind of, go into this field a lot of people I hear going from higher education into learning into organizations. I've done that journey as well. So I think it's just like everybody, at some point you care about people and at some point you just want to do something different. So usually there's only like so many ways to go around that. So a lot of people end up in
Mhm.
training, talent development, recruitment even, and so on. So you are pretty unique in that. And it's great. I mean, like I wish I would have known about this career path. I kind of fell into because I didn't know it even existed actually. Like we hear about
Mhm.
HR, but learning and development is a very separate function of HR in many organizations. And it's a very different game. And so anyway, so that's interesting.
Yes.
What made you go into consulting then? So you love this field. So what made you say, okay, let me not be an internal person in the organization. Let me actually work with people from my field.
hmm Yeah, so in the 10 years, it kind of came to a natural end. I got married, I had children, it was just like naturally in my life stage more so than
Yeah.
anything else. I needed the flexibility, and back then it was what, 2016 that I left, and there was no work from home. That was not a thing. So, getting to the office every day with the baby and all of that stuff. So anyway, it was just a natural progression. I loved my time there. There was, I'm still in touch with many of the people, so I absolutely loved it. But yeah, then I went into corporate consulting, and really that's where I suppose if I could use the word fell into, but I really found my niche very quickly of standing up learning and development functions from scratch. So I worked with companies, from 50 people big to 6,500 people big, where they had no learning and development, like no structures, no process, no like, I mean, some of them didn't even have their compliance training sorted out, so it was
Mhm.
really building from scratch. And now I'm on my seventh iteration of really helping a business build a learning and development function from
Mhm.
nothing. And so that became my speciality, not because I wanted it, but just because that was, what my clients were calling me in for. And absolutely loved it and still love it. Like, I mean, I'm busy doing one now again, and just it's just so rewarding. So that's the
Mm.
consulting side of my business, and that's what I help clients do. I go in and I build business wide strategic capability plans. So it's,
Mm.
what do we need a few years down the line so that we get our people ready, to achieve our goals, because we need capable people. If the business wants to be sustainable and wants to be successful, wants to be competitive, we need capable people in the businesses. And so that's what I help them do.
Mm. When you work with companies, I'm curious. So typically I hear that companies can get away with not having a L&D function up until they're in like 50 to 100. And it seems like something happens in that 50 to 100 where you no longer can, sustain all high performers, and you need to have this some kind of talent development performance structure because it kind of grows. Is that true? Is that have you seen this in that 50 plus, like 50 employees plus, or does it depend on the company? I'm just curious. Like, when
Mm,
does it actually, you're like, you must have this function? What are the
yeah.
signs?
And I think that's a better question than how many people. There are definitely signs.
Mm-hmm.
It's, when so learning and development typically sits under HR. So it's really when HR is too busy
Mm-hmm.
doing the operation side to ever think about training. So it's kind of on the to-do list. It keeps getting pushed down because it's important, not urgent. And so it just never
Mm-hmm.
happens. And then when you start seeing your best people become complacent, or the people who have been with you since the beginning of your growth, and now they're
Yeah.
like, but disconnected, and some might leave, and those are the red flags when you need to bring someone in. 50 to 100, I have worked with a company that was 50 big, and that I could really do very individualized development plans, because uh, they work in a very unique industry. This team was basically the only team in the world that knew how to do what they could do. And so that's why the need. But generally, I'm stepping in when companies are at like 200, 250, and when I need to set it up from scratch. But even the 6,500 company that I worked with, they didn't have their performance management done. They didn't have their
Well,
learning and like their learning pathways. So and they probably were calling me in a couple years too late, but
yeah.
because we had to
Better
catch
late
up
than
a
never,
lot.
right?
But yes, exactly. So I think there's, and truth be told, I honestly believe a progressive CEO that's looking at growth and isn't becoming complacent themselves, that CEO will see it and know it and then call someone in. And it doesn't have to be a permanent headcount, right? So I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
permanent headcount in these companies. I come in, I help them with their plan. Sometimes I hand over to a more junior learning and development, specialist, manager level, and then I leave. But yeah, it's a mindset of the CEO, because for me, it's a no-brainer to have capable people, and spending money on me, even if one of your top performers stay, you've paid for my whole year.
Yeah.
Like a whole year of me consulting with you if one
Mm.
of your top performers stay. So to me, it's like a
It's a no-brainer.
no-brainer from
Yeah.
bottom line, business acumen, financial sense. It's just it's an obvious choice to me. And I think those CEOs with that mindset who want to bring their people along, those are the companies that I'd work with, that
Mm.
I work with.
Well, I think also, I think if anything, maybe, 10 years ago, you could get away as a company of not having a learning and development function. But I think today, not only are younger generations like Gen Zs that are asking for it, like they want to grow. That's a big part of their, tied to the companies. How much am I growing? So you need to have that. They want to see career growth, career paths. And so I think if you don't have that, that's one. I think performance can be done better in organizations in general. I think still many organizations don't get it right. And then on top of that, with all the AI and the talent mobility that we need to have in organizations, otherwise we lose people essentially, right? So I think now is probably one of the better times. I mean, if there was a better time, now is probably the best time to actually have these functions because of everything that's happening. It's almost you don't have a choice versus maybe 10 years ago you get away with it, not today. So on that point, like, have you seen, just in terms of just like what's happening in the market for us as professionals, right? Like, are you now looking at, applying some AI stuff? Are you helping companies equip with tools that they can use instead of hiring like a number of trainers or like how, you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of the functions around training, content creation, learning, and so on can be now outsourced to AI essentially with one person kind of managing it all. So how have you seen that, and what are some of your predictions, maybe?
Oh, such a great angle. I love it. So super excited. I have so many ideas that I just need to think through. All right.
Yeah.
So what I am doing a little bit differently is that I'm coming into clients and I look at business capability. So I don't come in thinking, okay, what is the one intervention that they need? I come in, I look at the business first. So where does the business want to be? What are the business goals? And then I reverse engineer. So, okay, if the company wants to expand globally, for a silly example, we need our people to have a global mindset. What does that capability look like? So I work backwards. I don't come in and say, oh, you need a global mindset. It's like, okay, but why? And so working backwards like that has really positioned me. I mean, my clients just keep me for a really long time. I work on average like a year to 3 years with my clients. So I stay with them over a long period of time. Then another key piece, and I really want to like make sure people hear this, is that we are not there to teach individual skills. We are there to build people. And so this whole person capability is becoming so critical, like so critical. Communication skills, emotional intelligence, empathizing, critical thinking. The human skills are actually becoming more important than I know how to use AI. Because honestly, we're all going to be able to use AI. It's going to be so easy. It really is. It's like, to me, learning how to use AI is not even a skill we need to focus on. It'll become so natural. It's working in a world with AI. It's having that mindset of AI is not a tool, it's a colleague, and I need to work with it on a day to day, like a team member. We back and forth, and I have it open on my other screen constantly, and I'm back and forth, and I'm brainstorming, and asking, and I'm, integrating it, and so it's just a colleague, and so really focusing in on that whole person, and that's what I do. So I build business wide, whole person capability. So I look at wellness. Are your people burning out?
Mhm.
All of that stuff is, so you need to do this whole person. I don't come in and say, oh, we need Excel training or
Yeah.
even manager training or anything like that. I'm like, okay, capable, like whole business, whole person. Then let's build a plan around that.
Mhm.
And I think that's becoming so important.
Yeah, I tend to agree. There was a report recently around skills for 2030, and it's exactly all the things like they were talking about, like skills that are going to be replaced, things that are going to think, skills that are going to be still kind of there, but maybe augmented by AI, and then skills that are definitely going to kind of stay. And a
Mhm.
lot of this is critical thinking and so on, and also talent
Mhm.
management, which made me excited as a talent
Yes,
manager. I'm
yes.
like, because
Yes,
it
you're
is,
talking about the World Economic Forum report,
I
aren't you?
think
I've
that's the
read
one.
that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah,
think
I've
that's the
read
one.
that too. So
Yeah.
yes, and I was like, yes,
Mm.
they're going to need us even more. And I
Yes.
knew it. I was like, oh, my crystal ball, like I could tell, I knew, I knew
Yeah.
you'd need us more. And I really do think this is the time when talent development needs to really step up.
Yeah.
We need to basically let go of content creation, which is kind of like letting go of our security blankie.
Yeah.
It's like what we know, what we cherish, what's familiar, but it's almost like we need to completely let go of that and step into the business partnering, the, looking future focused. How are we going to get the people there? It's so strategic now. If we stay in the content creation, I
Yeah.
don't think that's the best future for us. I don't
No.
think that's even a possible future for us. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but I just don't think
Yeah.
that that's going to be where we play within 2 years.
Mm. Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I think it's just, I think you're right. It's like the learning designers and so on. I think, I actually have a certification in that now. I'm like, I don't even know what I should do with that because yeah, I can't do a lot of that, but I think that as long as you have the kind of background, you don't really need to do it. I think there are a lot of tools. I mean, every conference I go to, there's so many tools now that are doing the content. And
Mhm.
frankly speaking, the content piece, I'm also a little bit skeptical about because content needs to be individualized and personalized. And I don't know how we can create content and it's just distributed across board because it's not going to be across board. So I think if
Mhm.
anything, to your point, like we as professionals need to help people take ownership of their own learning and create and give them tools that can help them create individualized content for them, like
Yes,
personalized,
yes,
right?
yes, yes. And
Um,
then just be aware of the echo chamber at the same time. Because,
yeah,
and actually, I did research on this for my master's thesis. I did learning and development a, in an AI integrated workplace. And so one of the things that I dug deep on is personalized ads. So how do,
mm,
Instagram, you talk about something today, you get the ad tomorrow.
yeah,
How do we do that in learning? That technology, that framework, it exists because it
hmm,
happens.
yeah,
It's like, how do we bring that into learning? But then also, Instagram is serving up ads only that and so the company needs to also push learning to you in a way, like
yeah,
push an ad to you of maybe you don't think you need new trainers, but you actually do. And so
hmm,
it's
yeah,
like anyway, I can go down the rabbit hole with this one, so I'll
yeah.
stop there. But that's, I'm like, if anyone is listening to this that is very tech savvy, please contact me. I need a brainstorm.
No, I think that's so spot on. I love that personalization. Yeah, like just recommending you things, because then
Mm,
that's what keeps us coming back to Instagram, right? At least for
mhm.
me, I'm like, how did it know? Like, and it's like it's such a sales tool as well. You're like, well, I guess I'm sure it just keeps popping up. So there's definitely psychology involved in that.
Yes.
I'm curious for, if we shift hats to kind of learning professionals in terms of like what can we as learning professionals do to stay ahead? Like how can we make sure that companies want to how do we keep communicating our value to the companies, right? Because I think it's part of our job is like educating around, why our roles are so important. And for better or for worse, it is part of educating that we have to do. So like what are some skills that you're thinking about as a talent development professional, as a consultant in this space, and what can other people implement in their own careers in this space?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's two sides of that um, question. So the first one is the skills that talent development professionals need to have. And then the second one, so I'm just going to, split it up. So skills. And then the second piece is how do we show our value, our impacts, and that is so important because I
Mm,
don't think we do that well enough. I truly, I've spoken with so many learning and development professionals and they just want their work to speak for themselves, and that was certainly me. Certainly me. I was just like, I am performing so well, I'm doing so well, like, I was getting top performance ratings and people were just calling me in. I was speaking with executive teams and they're like, Candice is so good. I literally got the top performance score in my team, and it was out of the HR team of like 800 people, and
wow.
yet I was passed up for the promotion. Why? Because I wasn't having the conversation of the value that I was bringing to the business. So yes,
Mm,
I could roll out the best learning solutions the company had ever seen. But then I didn't just do that next step of, this is the impact I have. This is what happened. This is what people said. This is what I influenced. This is the KPI that I improved. I just didn't do that next step. So showing your impact is a whole skill on its own, I believe. There are three main skills that we need to step into, and
Mm-hmm.
that is being strategic. So we need to be thinking ahead. If we are reacting to a training request, we are already so late, probably a
Mm-hmm.
year late to that request, because we need to be saying what's coming, what's happening in our industry, what's happening to people in the world. We need to have a big view of what is happening so that we can create the capability, because capability takes time. It takes time to build capability. So if we're responding to a request, we're about a year late. So we need to be strategic.
Yeah.
Then we need to think of the human skills. And I want the word soft skills to jump like into the ocean and it floats away. So it's the deeply human skills, and that's what we bring.
Mm.
We are not going to bring AI to the business. Yes, maybe we can help in term like ease fears, but we need to understand what is the workplace going to look like with AI, and we need to almost double down on those human skills,
Mm-hmm.
because that is what's going to make all the difference to you as a talent development person, but also to the people you support. And then the last one is business acumen. And I go on about this in almost all of my webinars and all of my things, but we are there to drive business performance. We are not there to list out learning outcomes. We are not there to do some training. We are there to literally enable the people so that the business can thrive. And if the business is thriving, guess what? It's got more money. It can hire more people. It can invest more. It's like a growing, nice
Mm-hmm.
environment to be. People feel good. They feel like they're adding value. It's just a whole circle. And that is our job. Our job is not to put together some training. And
Mm.
that's, why I created the 5-spoke model, which we'll discuss. But
Yeah.
we really have an impact on the entire employee experience, on, even the company branding. You mentioned earlier, Gen Z wants development, and yes, that is 100% true. So the number one and two, and it's tied, the number one and two reason people leave organizations is money and development. We always hear people join companies, but they leave bad managers. No, they
Mm.
leave bad development. That is
Yeah.
what the statistics tell us. They're not leaving their manager, they are leaving because of bad development or lack of, or all of the things,
Mm.
whatever it is. So
Mm.
I feel like companies investing in this will have a competitive advantage. I really do.
Mm. Yeah, I love it. I love the strategic thinking and like not being almost kind of like being an advisor to the company versus just executor, right?
Mm,
The human skills definitely. Yeah, like I still use soft skills, but yeah, I think human skills is, let's just all agree collectively,
yes.
starting with myself, we're gonna just
We
call it
have to
human
use soft
skills.
skills because everyone just knows what that is. So I
Yeah.
also find myself every client conversation, I'm like, the soft skills. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
we
No,
stop
I think
using
it
that
is
word?
it's crazy, but it's like the thing that human piece of us is what's gonna is continuous. Like communication was important 50 years ago in a corporate and it's still gonna be important today and 30
Mhm,
years from now or 50 years from
mhm,
now. It's just what it is. That's what makes us human, that ability to
mhm,
communicate effectively. The business acumen for sure. I think that's what, for people who are listening that are in talent fields, I think that's super important because if you have not had exposure to the business and if you're not thinking from a business perspective, that's very hard to be that advisor. And
mhm,
that's what a lot of, a lot of the senior leadership, the way they see you is just an executor because you don't bring that piece. So I've learned that the hard way. And I've had to like turn on my business side and learn things so I can sell it to the leadership better. So I love these tips. So talk to me a little bit about your framework and kind of the models that you use right now, because I think it's going to be
So
super interesting to talent development people.
yes, yes. So I have created, and I run a community every week called the Learning and Development Lounge. And through there, we spoke about, what do we do? What does talent development do? There's no model. There's nothing out there. You'll find things and then it's almost a to-do list. Like these are the 5 things, these are the 5 outputs. But I wanted to know, what is the impact we have as a function, as our work? And so we can, and then eventually with a little bit of back and forth came up with this 5-spoke model, which is, the 5 big impact areas that we have. So it's from attraction. So we attract top talent if we have a good development, if we start getting known that we join this company and we are developed so well, we can, really dig in and we become capable in this company. That attracts top talent. And then retaining people, the entire employee experience from pre-boarding to off-boarding, we should have an impact on. Obviously, capability building in the company. So that's that. And then so one of my courses in the Talent Development Academy is called the Satellite View. And that is really about strategically aligning learning and development with the business. And so I've just pulled a little extract from that course and created a bit of a checklist. So, the L&D impact checklist, which takes you through. So where do you start? Remember, I said we should do training as the last thing. And so we really need to look at, macro trends. What's impacting people? So it's globalization, it's hybrid becoming a norm, it's AI. We need to know that so that we can prepare our workforce for that environment. So that, macro, and then looking at your industry, because obviously it's impacting tech much more than it's impacting construction, for example. And so, like making it industry specific, because it's not going to be a copy paste, one size fits all thing. Then it's about knowing your business, where the business is going, looking at the goals, how we're going to get our people there, then building the company-wide capability plan, and then looking at the training. So training is literally the last thing I do when I work with the client. So that's that. And then the last piece of this is what I have dubbed the infinity loop. And that's really, what does the talent development function look like and do? What do we do? And that's the infinity loop.
That's awesome. And where can people get in touch? Where can they access this, the Academy? What's the best place?
Yeah, so they can download the impacts. I call it talent enablement impact toolkit. I know too many big words, but it's the impact toolkit, and they can download that for free. And I'll share the link with you that you can add it to the description, but it's www.talentdevelopmentnerds.com/impact. And they can just download that, and it gives them some questions. When I say, come with the business first, so it just says, instead of saying this, say that. Instead of positioning it like this, position it like that. So very practical. Like I say, practical is my middle name. So very, very practical and usable. So they can grab that for free. And then, that'll lead them into the Talent Development Academy. And again, I can give you the link, but that is my program that consists of 7 courses, which is basically all around the infinity loop. And I train people on how to lead a talent development function. So it is everything they need, nothing that they don't. It's not a fire hydrant approach. We have expert guest coaches. We have 30 hours of live coaching. It's a year-long membership. And so they get access to all 7 courses, all the experts, all the coaching sessions. And that's a 12-month.
Nice.
It's hard. This is not an easy field to be in. It's the most rewarding field to be in, for sure. To me, I might be biased, maybe. I don't know. But I love it.
Yeah. No, we're dealing with human beings. That's the most complex thing, right? Like human beings, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different backgrounds, and it's the hardest, but yes, the most rewarding, I would say. It is. It's not as people think. It's just like, oh, it's just all fun, and there's so much strategy, so much thought that goes behind the work that you're doing and other professionals in our field do. And where do you hang out as Candice? Is LinkedIn the best way to get in touch with you if somebody wants to reach out?
Yeah, definitely LinkedIn, but I'm also having some fun on Instagram, I'm going to admit. So have all my sense of humor. I say this to I have a creative manager that works for me, and I'm like, I always laugh at my own jokes. I think I'm hilarious. My kids do not agree. So that's my Instagram vibe. I'm just having some fun.
Nice, nice. And if you had a magic wand to do anything in L&D, what'd be the one thing that you would do?
Oh my gosh.
Just one top thing.
Yes, one top thing. I want every learning and development person to shout from the rooftops of their impact and the value they have. So tell people, don't just do something and leave. Don't just implement and go. You've got to close that loop. Please tell everyone the impact you have because it's massive. It is so massive. Like I said, if one top performer stays, you have paid for my entire year of
Yeah.
consulting. It's huge. And so if you're doing your job right, you have such a massive impact. And if business sees that clearly, yeah, we just become a function that they want to invest in rather than lay off. It's
Mm,
we have to speak about it more. We have to because it's stats. This is not my opinion. These are facts. These are research, thousands of people. These are facts.
mm.
It's not my, because I could say it's my biased opinion, but no, we have actual bottom line impact, and we need to talk about it more.
Yeah. Thank you for that reminder. I think I needed to hear that today. So I appreciate that. I'm sure a lot of people did too. Thank you, Candice. And it's been really nice to chat with you. And maybe we'll chat again when something crazy happens in L&D. I don't know. We'll see what AI is gonna, maybe we're gonna come back like 2 years from now and be like, remember that thing we talked about? Yeah, like this happened. So, but hopefully it'll be for the better.
Yes,
So,
yes,
but anyway, thanks for
absolutely.
being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.